Hey guys, welcome to the Valerie V Show. And in 1 second, we're going to start our interview series with successful entrepreneurs who've been in business for 2 years or more. And we start that today with Linda Leekley. You're going to love it. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Valerie V Show. Today we are going to talk to Linda Leekley. And I can't wait for her to tell you all about her business. We are interviewing successful business owners in the healthcare space. Some of them are home care, some of them are home care related, some of just, general healthcare businesses that have done well. And the reason we're doing this is so that all of you can get some sense of, what it was like when you started up and what do you attribute your success to today. So for those of you who are in the midst of starting a new business, or maybe for those of you who've been around a long time, you can hear a breath of fresh air from some other successful businesses who've been through all those struggles that you've been through. And so today we're going to talk to Linda. And hi, Linda, how are you?
Hi, Valerie. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem. I'm so glad you reached out and said you'd be willing to do this because, that's the goal here, is to get as many successful entrepreneurs on to help everybody understand what it really takes to run a successful business. So why don't you tell us the name of your business, where you're located, and how long you've been in business?
Okay. All right. Well, my business is called In the Know Caregiver Training, which is kind of self-explanatory there, but we have been around for 20 years. This is our 20th anniversary this year. So 1998 is when I founded the business. We're located in Durham, North Carolina. And Durham has a couple of interesting nicknames. One is we're called America's foodiest small town.
Oh, wow.
There are 75 restaurants in the small downtown area, that many of which have been written up in New York Times, etc. And then the other nickname is we're the city of medicine. And that's because the physician population ratio is 4.5 times greater than the national average.
Wow, so, lots of choices.
Yeah, so if you're in one of these, restaurants and somebody says, "Is there a nurse or a doctor in the house?" You're going to get, several dozen hands in the air. So it's an interesting place with so many healthcare professionals around and so much emphasis on healthcare and medicine. I moved here from Minnesota 29 years ago, partly for that reason, because it does offer so much for healthcare professionals, and I am a nurse. Of course, getting away from 25 below zero weather was also
that helps. It does help, yeah.
But so that kind of answers that question, I guess.
So 20 years, I can't believe we've been in business 10 years, and I've been a nurse since 92. So I'm like, I don't know. I say I've been I'm a 200 years old in nurse years. I've seen it all. Nothing, people will say, "Well, thank you so much for coming over and helping with blah, blah," a neighbor or something. And I'm like, it's okay. You know what? If I tell my kids, if you're crying, you better be dying. So, because I would know. So I've been in business 10 years. You've been in business 20 years. I mean, that is almost, a lifetime, it seems like, or half a lifetime or more. So what spurred you to get into this line of work 20 years ago?
Well, at that time, I was working as a clinical educator at a corporate level for a national home health company. Mm-hmm. And I was traveling around doing train-the-trainer sessions and meeting with lots of caregivers. And, they've always been, always had a soft spot for caregivers. I mean, what would us nurses be without caregivers working by our sides?
That's right.
And at that time, Medicare was doing one of their reimbursement cuts to long-term care. And so the first people that were going to be cut, I knew, were educators. Mm-hmm. Because that's something that's nice to have, organizations think. It's not need to have, which, I totally disagree with. But
totally, yeah, I really do.
Yeah, but that indeed is what happened. And I knew then that the caregiver training was going to fall into the laps of extraordinarily busy nursing supervisors who barely had time to do their own tasks, let alone take on something new. And, that meant that there probably was going to be 10-year-old videos, used as training, and or copies of articles from nursing journals. And, none of that is really appropriate for or what the caregivers deserve.
Right.
I thought, well, how can I help both these busy nursing supervisors and the caregivers? So that's what inspired me to start writing courses and starting in the know. So I wrote courses specifically for caregivers with caregivers in mind, with their job responsibilities, their learning needs, their education level, experience level, their status as adult learners, and just tried to put together the best possible content that I could. And then I reached out to this big pool of healthcare professionals that live in the area, and found some other great nurse educators and who were great writers, and took them on my team, and the company just grew from that. Then you add a sales team, and you add a support team, and an instructional design team, because we offer both instructor-led courses. That anyone in an organization can present to their caregivers and feel confident in doing so. And then, because it's like a turnkey package. And then we have e-learning as well, that is instructional designers.
Good.
And, we've served more than 6,000 healthcare organizations over the 20 years. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, we've probably touched hundreds and hundreds of thousands of caregivers with our courses. And that's really humbling to think about, and very honored to have had that impact.
That is really neat. And so I would assume that then this is nationwide. Anyone can participate, right?
Indeed, yes. It's a B2B, or business to business. And so we don't sell to individual caregivers. We sell to the organizations. It is nationwide. In fact, we've also sold to Canada, to UK, to Africa, the Caribbean. So,
wow, you're an international business. Awesome. Well, great. That is great. So it sounds to me like, of course, our audience is primarily home health care, home care, care management, things like that. So I'm sure that many of them will be very interested in what you have to offer. And so what I'll do is I'll post your website address and all the things they need to know to get a hold of you if there's something they want to talk to you about, or just investigate what you have and use it for their own organization.
Absolutely.
So in the spirit of entrepreneurship, tell us one or two things that you believed helped make your business a success.
Well, I think that the first thing is that we really developed a mission, which, a focus, which was the caregiver. Over the years, we've been asked to create content for nurses and for food service staff and housekeeping staff. And look, those are all very important to healthcare, but we stuck to our mission, which was caregivers. And I think having that sole focus has really helped us, hone in and keep our quality up to the level that we want it to be. So that's one of my keys, is to kind of, really understand your mission. I'm sure, you're on board with that one, and stick to it. And another thing is that we've been devoted to customer service. I'm going to date myself, but I don't know if anybody remembers a movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan called You've Got Mail.
Oh, yeah.
He owned this big conglomerate bookstore and was trying to buy up her little corner bookstore. That's what's happening in the healthcare training industry today. There are a couple of big conglomerates that are, absorbing all the smaller training providers. And we have resisted that. We feel that when you're part of a big company like that, probably the first thing to suffer is customer service. And, I think it's super important as an entrepreneur, especially to give the best possible customer service and to do it with a personal touch. We don't turn anybody away. If a caregiver called one of those conglomerates and said, I'm having trouble completing one of your courses, they would say, well, talk to your supervisor about it.
Right.
But my employees, I've heard them spend 60 to 90 minutes on the phone with a caregiver, walking them through how to do an e-learning course. Starting with, is your computer turned on?
Yeah.
Here's how to access the browser. Here's where to type in the web address, and take them patiently, kindly, and gently through that whole process, so that by the end they say, "Okay, I get it. I can do the next course." So.
Nice. That is, you're right. I mean, no one's in a situation like that. It is our small businesses, our small, big businesses that really still have that personal touch. It's, we lose it when we get to the Amazons of the world.
That's right. Exactly.
We lose that personal touch quite a bit.
Exactly.
And those two pieces, I think, are, having a some people say niche, some people say niche, having a niche and really sticking to it. Yeah. I'm one of those people that sees, squirrel. And, and my business partner always says, if we just focused on doing this, the very best we can, being the experts at this one thing, then we will be much more successful than if we go, and it's true. That's true. So your mission is right on, is to serve one population of the caregiving or the healthcare, pool of all these things that you could reach out to, and sticking to it. I really do believe that is a huge consideration when if you're in home care and you try to serve all these different populations, kids, adults, seniors, disabilities, there's a lot of things you could choose from.
Right.
And to stick to one focus really helps you get good at that one thing and that one mission, and you become the expert, and it's undeniable that you're the person to go to. You're the company to go to. So
I agree with you completely.
Yes, I totally understand that. So thank you for not selling out and for sticking with the little guy, because I think that does make a huge difference. So if you are speaking to a new startup today, what would be your best piece of advice?
Well, if I was talking to a new startup home care,
or any kind of business owner, it makes it kind of general, but a home care agency would be a good start too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's an easy thing for me to speak to, because what I would tell them, my best advice, and this is going to sound self-serving, but I don't mean it to, is to focus on your training program from day one. Mm-hmm. Don't look at it as something that is an outgo of cash, and so I'm not going to worry about that now. I'm going to worry about what's going to bring me money, because that's
backwards.
Yeah, it's backwards. And, for example, they could consider creating a career ladder that rewards caregivers who complete advanced training courses, or who complete X number of courses within, a year's time. And the training doesn't have to be, I'm not trying to sell mine to them. They can develop their own training. They can bring a local nurse in to do their training. They can buy from a training provider like In-the-Know. But the main thing is to put thought and planning into their training program, especially now when there's a caregiver crisis.
Right.
And, caregivers have umpteen ads to choose from when they're looking at who they want to work for. So if a new startup can plan out a training program and then advertise it and say, we value lifelong learning, we invest in our employees, we have ongoing training, they're going to get a caregiver pool coming in to apply who want to be part of the industry and stick with it. And because most caregivers who want to do it for a career, they're looking for advanced training. They want to do additional tasks, just like any of us want to grow in our profession. And the other thing that getting a training program set does for a startup is that it sets them apart from the competition, or it can really help to. So I would advise a startup home care to really assess their community and figure out, okay, does our community have a greater than average number of people with diabetes? Or do we have a greater number than average of people with COPD? And then train caregivers to those specialties, whatever you find for your community. And become the experts, just like you were saying, to hone in and focus on one thing. Become the expert on diabetes or on COPD, and train your caregivers in advanced training courses, whether you develop them yourselves, bring in a nurse, or use a company. Just do it. And then advertise the heck out of it and say, we have advanced trained caregivers in these diagnoses. And then when a family member is looking for, his mom has COPD and he's looking for a home care agency, and he sees one where there's advanced training with COPD, he goes, yeah, that's what I want for my mom.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, or a hospital, and discharging a diabetic will say, okay, I want the agency where my clients or patients going to be happy. Their outcomes are going to be good, and they're going to stay out of the hospital.
That's right. And they're going to stay home. They're not going to readmit.
Right.
Absolutely. They look at that all the time.
Yeah, they're going to pick the agency that has specially trained caregivers. So I think it's really, if they really look at the way training can help them both recruit and retain caregivers and set themselves apart in the community, they'll be off to a good start.
I would totally agree with that. Specializing in one or two things in the home care space, and you're smart. I mean, to say that you should maybe take a look at the census data and the demographics of your area, and what's how about Alzheimer's and dementia? If you're in Florida and you have an older population, there's so much competition.
Right.
And that is the training that you have demanded and required of your caregivers, and you feel that they really are stepping up to that disease process. And that is something that is super valuable for that location.
Right.
So you're right. Absolutely. Train to what it is that your community specifically needs and advertise the heck out of it. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that is, you have given us some super golden nuggets about being a business owner and having longevity, and especially in this complicated and competitive marketplace. And I want to thank you, Linda, for taking 15, 20 minutes out of your day to let me ask you questions on behalf of all of the people out there who want to help others and who want to start a business that is a helping profession and a helping business. I think you've given us a lot of food for thought and a lot of stuff that we should really absorb and learn from. So you're good at this all the way around.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Linda. And if any of you out there want to be interviewed as one of our successful entrepreneurs on the Valerie V Show, just go to our website. I'll put the link somewhere here, and you can apply to be on the Valerie V Show. We want to hear from you as a successful entrepreneur and share your good story on our show. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.